Welcome back to the channel, you crazy custom kids. My name is Jay, I'm your host. This is Culture Burn. Today we're going to take a look at a skateboard that I'm working on for an upcoming show. All right, everyone, here's a quick look into kind of my process here. This is a skateboard that I'm designing, or I'm painting, I should say, for a upcoming show. It's the Get Rad Skateboard Show. I have my notes here. It's curated by Christopher Canary, and it's in conjunction with the Kerosene Skate Shop in Wichita, Kansas, at the Vertigo 232 Gallery in Wichita. It's coming up in June. Artwork is due late May. Here's my initial pencil sketch, just on tracing paper. I like working on a more of a vellum or a tracing paper. From that point, I scan it in and I blow it up. And in this case, being a skateboard and being so big, I've printed it out on 3 or 4 sheets of paper here, so it'll fit together. Once I've got it scaled and blown up, I come back on top of that and retrace it back on the vellum paper. You can see how things change a little bit, but this firms everything up. Pretty much gets everything where I want it. Add a few things, get everything scaled and proportioned and ready to transfer to the skateboard, which we have here. Now, I've already started this. I'll have a couple time lapses of the painting of one of the background colors. I paint these in acrylics usually. I use cheap acrylics. One reason is I like the soft consistency of them, and I also like the fact that they dry absolutely dead matte when I'm doing it. My technique for acrylics is very much a dry brush technique, and I really like the fact that when these dry so matte, they leave a good tooth for the rest of my paint to stick to as I'm doing my dry brush technique. So this is actually 4 coats. I'll spare you and only do 2 coats in the time lapse. This is 4 coats of red and then 2 coats of the green. It depends on the opacity of the paint, how many times I have to make a pass. But from here now, and I'll do a time lapse of that, I'll add stars to the background here since he's in space. I've titled this one Lunar Leap. So he's in space, and I'll add stars, and then I'll add a second color purple to this. It's actually gonna be a darker purple that's gonna go on over the top. I do it very loosely. I use a bigger brush than I need in order to keep it loose, and the lighter purple underneath should show a little bit of a kind of a halo around all the objects on here to give them the effect of possibly being glowing like a star does in the night sky. So we'll see how that turns out. I'll do a time lapse of that as well. All right, so first pass on the second coat of purple, which is the darker color. Basically, the night sky is going to be that color. Looks like crap right now. That purple that I use is notoriously translucent. So to build up the opacity, I'll have to make at least one more pass, if not two, to get that filled in and nice and opaque. That was about 1 hour and 12 minutes to make that pass right there. So it should go faster. The first pass, I spend more time designating all my areas around all the objects here. See how this gives kind of a glow to all the stars. So build all this up until it's nice and opaque, and there'll be a nice contrast between the slightly lighter purple and the darker purple in order to give it a glow. All right, I hope this gives you a sense of what's happening. This is all the first coat of the dark purple. And then I've started here. That's the second coat. So it's starting to firm up, starting to get darker. I do like this. I think I probably will make one more pass. It is still a little bit mottled looking in there. I'd like to firm that up just a little bit. But that gives you a sense of, that's a good idea there of, here's the second coat up to about here, and then just the first coat there. So it starts to firm up pretty good. Probably give it a third coat, and then we'll be back. All right, everyone, here's the last pass of the dark purple. This is 4 coats of the darker purple. The darker purple is, despite its super dark tone, is very translucent. So I take advantage of that translucency on the last pass, and I actually paint over some of the stars that I left before to knock them back into the background a little bit. And I think it helps give a little bit of a depth to the whole thing by making some stars brighter, which naturally come to the front, and some stars darker, which naturally fade to the background. Anyway, that's the whole background of the stars done. I always start, generally, I say always, I generally start on a painting with whatever's furthest in the distance, and I don't mean, I mean perspective-wise. So obviously the sky, which goes on forever, back behind him here is the furthest thing in the composition, furthest thing back. So the next thing I'll do is I've got the smoke here for the rocket ship. That's going to get all blended in. It's going to be mostly purple to match the starry sky. And then I'll start working on planets and some of the background elements and the two planets. And then we'll move on to the guy in the center.